I figured we go right down the line of the 4 films I saw, and we're going to go with The Conjuring Last Rite. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already for daily film content from movie reviews and so much more. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already to never miss a video. Okay, so this is the 3rd film I saw, and that was The Conjuring Last Rites, which is apparently going to be the last in the franchise, just based upon, again, this is the trailers, not me spoiling anything. It says in the trailers, this is their most horrendous, what did they say? It was like one of their worst or most something experiences, and this is the reason why they never did it again. So the trailer leads up to being, this is going to be the last one. Again, with The Last Rites, I think that one actually hit HBO Max as soon as it came out. So I guess this is kind of why this is going to be the last one. I guess they're not really projecting it to be a big success. They can't milk this for any more money. I mean, realistically, James Wan kind of set them up with a moneymaker with The Conjuring, Conjuring 2, Nun 2, the 3 or 4 Annabelle movies. So yeah, I mean, he really kind of set them up and they made their money off this franchise. And I think it kind of went downhill after James Wan left. I mean, the first 2 Conjurings were so good. The 3rd one just didn't live up to it. And this one, sadly to say, takes after the 3rd one and just kind of dips on down. Now, going into this, I kind of had mixed expectations just because I knew James Wan wasn't directing it. He did executively produce, or he was an executive producer, which really doesn't mean a whole lot. And again, I just feel like The Conjuring was such a great franchise, the first 2, that we got teased on we're going to have this great franchise. But I feel like it kind of went downhill a little bit, and I feel like we're kind of going that way. And before I forget, I actually did have a thing. When I said this is going to be the last one, or the studios is projecting this to be the last one, I just want to throw out a friendly reminder for those who may not know a bit of fun fact information that Friday the 13th Part 4 was called the final chapter because Paramount originally was going to make that their last one because they done milked the franchise for all it was worth pretty much. The 3rd one didn't give as much revenue as they expected to be. They thought the franchise was dead, so okay, we're going to make one final chapter, wrap it up, and just just milk it for everything we can. And then, oddly enough, the final chapter was the highest grossing film in the franchise and was a huge success, financially speaking. So they churned out 6 more Jason movies, not including Freddy vs. Jason and, of course, the reboots. So again, The Conjuring, The Last Rite could be a success, box office success. And, I mean, it's not a critical success. I think Rotten Tomatoes is a 55. Critical score for audience 86. So again, there's a huge differentiate between critics and audiences. So again, this could be a monster at the box office, and they might change their mind. And again, the way the story leads on, they could always milk it for more. But I mean, I don't know. Unless James Wan comes back, I'm gonna say don't do it. I'll start out with Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're now doing teaching their findings to college students, or they're holding special events across the country. They're going to colleges and talking, doing presentations, and it kind of opens up with everybody kind of thinking they're a joke, and they're not doing events anymore, or they're not doing they're not taking any more cases on, we'll say, because Ed's condition, he has some health issues. So pretty much at this one point, we find out they have a daughter. We get a little bit of backstory in the beginning of the film, and kind of introduces the daughter. And at this point, they're not really doing cases anymore. They're just trying to spread the word. They're talking about writing a book maybe, and they're kind of in between what they want to do with their career. And the daughter is introduced. We introduce the daughter, and then of course we have the demon. Now the whole thing kind of appears to be with this family of 8 is being haunted in Pennsylvania, and they originally go to we find out this haunting, but the haunting doesn't really. This is my problem. The haunting doesn't actually start until a good 20 or 30 minutes into the movie, and then when it does start, we have the beginnings of the horror and the beginnings of the ghost storytelling, and talking about these demons. And then apparently it goes on for months before the Warrens even find out. They go to the church and do all this stuff, but nobody's really doing anything. And they even, go to the news to try to and make this like a big news-wide thing. It's all over the news and everything. It becomes this top story. And then, again, still nothing. So it's like, I feel like my biggest problem with this film is that it's not really about, I feel like the balance is off. There's a balance between telling the stories of the Warrens and their family, and their life is kind of part of the film, and the other part of the film is this family who's being tormented by spirits and demons. So it's a very unbalanced film, and I feel like the pacing is really poorly done, and it's part of the pacing. It's also just from a technical aspect, from a horror aspect. It's your cinematography. It's just the way the film looks and the crispness of it, and just the overall camera operations that, James Wan definitely set the standard on how to make a good possession film, or a film about, demons and spirits. And with the first two Conjuring films, Insidious, like he set the bar so high with the first two Conjuring films. I feel like neither the third or this one has been able to even get close to that standard, which kind of makes the film itself feel stale and not really good, which I feel like I might be being a little harsh and over judging it, because I'm comparing it to the first two and how amazing they were. And it just feels like there's nothing, I can't say there's nothing bad about this one, because there's a lot I don't like. Like I said, the pacing's off, and just kind of the overall, tools in which you don't really get a horror feel. Like, it's a horror movie, but you don't really have those moments that really make it scream intensity and really scream horror. Now, on the contrary, there are some parts of this film that I actually really do enjoy. Again, like I said, we introduced the daughter. Where she's introduced as a young child, and we have scenes with her as a child, and then we have majority of the film is with her as a young adult. Don't know the exact age, doesn't really clarify, but I'm gonna say probably between like 20 and 22, probably. So she's older, not old, but older, and so we kind of have an interaction with her and with the history of the Warrens. And there's a lot of fun play with like Annabelle and a couple other characters that we've already seen. Like pretty much every Conjuring movie, I feel like you always go back to the room in the Warrens' house where they have all their haunted possessions, where they keep them there for safekeeping. So we always have a little bit of fun pop up with these characters we've already been introduced to and kind of love. Like you have the nun, like the painting of the nun, of course, of Annabelle. But I feel like in this one we do have a little bit more kind of fun with Annabelle, and she kind of has a smaller portion of that, which kind of adds to the fun. But I feel like even then we don't really have enough to really make this film stick. And it feels like, again, it just feels like it's trying to do too broad of a story. And again, this film is long. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And no horror film, especially of this magnitude, should be that long. It just, again, it feels, you have parts that really drag out. And there's moments where it's just like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I gotta like shift around. Like, I'm getting uncomfortable sitting in this chair because it's just not holding your attention. There's too much bland and not enough, there's just too much bland throughout, and it's not tight enough. And there's a lot of fat that could be cut off the film, which I know a lot of people love this movie. I feel like just from looking at like a lot of the ratings, a lot of people, as far as audience members, are like loving this movie. A lot of stuff I've seen online, fans are hugely embracing this film. But personally, I mean, I'm a huge horror fan. I absolutely love horror movies, but this one I just like. It wasn't bad, but again, it wasn't good. I had moments I enjoyed it, but I mean, all in all, am I going to watch this movie again? Probably not. So that being said, I'm going to have to give this one a rental. What are your thoughts? Comment below. Let me know.